Hold up. Before this video starts, I have something I would like to say. I apologize with how long of a gap it's been in between videos. I was originally attempting to get these out weekly, but man, this takes so much time. I've changed the script just over and over and over again because I cannot settle on one that I like. And getting footage on a 3DS, I don't know if you know how hard it is to get a capture card on a 3DS, but it's just something I never want to have to go through again. It is awful. My god, I hope you freaking like it, man. This took a lot. Just get on to the video. If you saw my last video, hey, what's up? Real quick before the video continues, I want to thank you all for 100 subs. When I started writing the script for this video on June 11th, 2024, I was at about 80, and going up 20 in just 7 days, which is when I finished the script, is just crazy. So I just want to say thank you. Alright, let's get on with the video. You would know it was about the Pikmin games. I was ranking them from best to worst. If you watch real closely, you realize that I left something out. That's right. The one, the only, real Pikmin 4. Wait, what did you say? Literally nobody noticed? And even if they did, most people don't even know about Hey Pikmin? Wait, y'all don't know about Hey Pikmin? You know the game they released after Pikmin 3? The one on the 3DS? Oh, come on, it's a really bad Pikmin game turned puzzle platformer. How does like half of the world not know that this game exists? I know it didn't sell very good, but come on. I know that this game isn't very good, but that doesn't mean that it deserves the terrible reputation that it has. And more people need to know about it. And that's why I'm making this video. So here I present to you my video about Hey Pikmin. So, Hey Pikmin. Before we talk about anything else, let me give you a little backstory. Pikmin 3 has been out for 4 years, and at this point, it's starting to get a little stale. People are begging for Pikmin 4. So what does Nintendo do? That's right, they release a crappy slow mess of a platform with Pikmin models. This was not what people were expecting, nor was it what they wanted. The people were upset. Their favorite video game series that was always known for its creativity and wonder had been reduced to this. A 2D platform with uninspired mechanics on the 3DS that reminds me of Chibi Robo Ziplash, and we all know how much of a disappointment that game was. Alright, I'm gonna chill out for a second. So, now you have some backstory. Let's get to talking about the game itself. First, I'll start out with what I like. This was the first portable Pikmin game. This was great, as many thought that this would never happen, including myself. But I do think that it would have been a better move if they had just made a portable version of the first game, because calling this a Pikmin game is a stretch. Like I said before, it takes the shape of a puzzle platformer, which I don't think is a great move, but it definitely makes for a unique experience. Walking around a tiny two-dimensional space while throwing Pikmin is just surreal. I won't say that it's a must-try, but I would definitely encourage buying the game, even if it's just for the novelty of it all. The next thing I like about the game is that it has a surprising amount of content packed in. If you go for 100%, you'll have your hands full for a while. Seriously, this game requires a lot of time to complete. I think it took me about a month to play, and a little over that to fully 100%, but I was only playing for about half an hour each day. In the previous Pikmin games, each enemy was a genuine threat that you had to be careful about when approaching. But in this game, they all fall pretty easily. Now, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, as you will only ever have around 10 Pikmin at a time. Speaking of enemies, this game added so many. Almost every enemy is new, and many of them are, in my opinion, genuinely good additions to the series. Just look at the Crumbug. Isn't he just absolutely adorable? While almost none of these enemies or bosses would return in later entries, they are still a nice addition and add a lot of charm to Hey Pikmin. I'm kinda happy that almost none of the enemies or bosses return to any later Pikmin games, because it gives me a genuine reason to go back and enjoy Hey Pikmin. I know for a fact, if the Crumb Bug was in any other game, I would never touch Hey Pikmin ever again. But because I know that if I boot up Hey Pikmin, I have a chance of seeing his adorable little face again, it definitely gives me some incentive to play. Now, let's talk about the worlds. This is another thing that I have a sort of love-hate relationship with. I like that each world is about as unique as you can get for a 2D Pikmin game. They all stand out from each other pretty well. Off the top of my head, I can name the Brilliant Garden, which seems to take place in a backyard of some sort, as you can see various gardening tools and a little house, which is a nice detail that adds a lot to the Pikmin universe, as it was the first real showing of some type of human-made building. This would later be shown again in Pikmin 4 in the form of the hero's hideaway, but at the time, this is an amazing little nugget of information. Anyway, the Brilliant Garden acts as a sort of tutorial zone. It shows you the ropes and shows you how to play a 2D Pikmin game, which, I'm going to remind you again, is something that was never even thought of before this game. Next, we have the Verdant Waterfront, which introduces us to Blue Pikmin, and shows us our first real look at what happens underwater in the Pikmin universe. Sure, we could technically go underwater before, but it never had that much depth, and it was always just like, oh, this is like land, but I just can't bring most Pikmin types. Here we get to really explore, which is a very nice touch. The final area I can name is the Ravaged Rustworks. This is the most unique by far, as it takes place in this maze of rusty metal. But just because it's unique does not mean that it's very good. Let's get on to what I don't like. First off, this story is just hot booty cheeks, man. It's as basic as it gets. I bet you can't guess what I'm about to say. You crash on PNF 404 and are stranded with the Pikmin. Mind-blowing stuff, I know. Oh, yeah, and that annoying thing from Pikmin 2 is here as well. The story being basic really sucks, because this is technically one of the most important Pikmin games story-wise, due to the discovery of Sparklium, and it's just handled in such a boring, basic way. Now, it's not like Pikmin is a hugely story-based franchise, but it's always nice to have some form of originality. Alright, enough with the story. Let me talk about the gameplay. It's alright. It's definitely not good. I mean, far from it. But I can't say that it's awful. It's really slow. I mean, this game just chugs along. I mean, look at this. This makes Kirby games seem fast, and they're known as some of the slowest games out there. Now, Olimar, I get your pain, man. I'm short too. I understand it's hard to move fast. But this is just overkill. But they gave Olimar a jetpack. Yes, finally something to speed this game up. Oh, come on! I could feel myself age 10 years just walking a couple of feet in this game. The levels already would have dragged, even if Olimar was fast, so this makes each level just that little bit more insufferable. Oh, yeah, and I almost forgot to mention, this game takes place in levels. I mean, you'd think Nintendo would have learned from Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon that people didn't like their open world games getting turned into linear mission-based games. But here we are. Yeah, you know what made the Pikmin games unique? Exploring these wonderfully creative areas with little colorful carrot dudes. Well, what if we just got rid of the areas entirely and replaced them with these crappy, uninspired 2D platforming levels? The level design absolutely sucks. It's like they were trying to make each level a sort of mini Metroidvania, but man, it just does not work. Almost all of the levels just feel clunky, and absolutely none of them have the flow of the normal Pikmin games. I mean, calling this a Pikmin game, I've said it before, it's just such a stretch. It feels like it was going to be its own unique thing, and at the last minute they said, hey, we haven't talked about Pikmin in a while, make it Pikmin. And my biggest complaint by far is the absolutely atrocious disgraces that they call boss fights. Let me just say, I absolutely adore boss fights in video games. A climactic, challenging moment with awesome music that often shows a spectacular display of creativity and wonder. What are Hey Pikmin bosses? Okay, so imagine this. Take a normal enemy and make it big. Okay. You don't like that one, but what about this? Take this dude, right? Give it legs and have it slowly walk around, and you haven't even heard the best part yet. It falls over occasionally. Yup, these bosses suck. I mean, calling these bad is an understatement. They are just plain awful. I have always just adored Pikmin bosses because usually not a single one is lacking in any department. They are all just creative and fantastic. Don't even get me started on the music. Mwah. It's just so good. Hey Pikmin's bosses are lacking in every department. They just aren't creative at all. And don't even get me started on the music. Pikmin boss music has always just amazed me. I mean, if you watched my previous video, you would know it's one of the reasons Pikmin 3 is my favorite one. I mean, just go watch Scruffy's video on Pikmin 3's boss music if you want a detailed explanation. So, just listen to this music. Does that sound like boss music to you? I'll answer for you. No. No, it doesn't. It completely ruins the impact of boss fights and ruins all urgency. These boss fights are just so bad. And my final complaint, this game just isn't very memorable. I mean, it didn't do enough to stand out from the crowd. Didn't add any new Pikmin, and it's just basic. I still love this game. No matter how much I've complained about it, I adore it. It's Pikmin, and how could I not love it? It definitely deserves more recognition. Overall, do I think Hey Pikmin is a bad game? It's certainly not a good game. I think it's somewhere in between. I would definitely recommend it if you are a serious Pikmin fan, but for anybody else, I say just skip it, man. Alright, thanks for watching.